Welcome to HudCoRadio. I'm Jim Kennelly. Yesterday marked the end of Women's History Month for 2025. Hudson County honored a number of remarkable women at its annual celebration of Women's History Month last week, held at the historic Brennan Courthouse. We had the chance to speak with three of the honorees for this podcast. First, Stephanie Glover Wilson, president and founder of Hunger for Unity in the Community, and then with Shirin Vazir MacCormack, founder and president of the McGinley Square Community Board. And finally, we spoke with Veronica Park, a dynamic businesswoman who also has served as the president of the Hudson County Schools of Technology's Foundation Board and is the founding chairwoman of the Youth Foundation of Jersey City. Stephanie Glover Wilson is president and founder of Hunger for Unity in the Community. She was born and raised in Jersey City, and she joins us now to talk a little bit about her work with that organization and generally about her efforts involved with those experiencing hunger, and a little bit perhaps about how her faith has informed that work. Stephanie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, John, for having me. I really appreciate it. It's an honor.
Well, let's start off by just that. Talk to me how you got involved in the work of developing and promoting food pantries, which I know you have done both in Bayonne and I think also in Jersey City. So how did you get involved in that work? And then how has it kind of grown over the years? You can talk also, if you'd like, a little bit about the work specifically, eventually about the work of Hunger for Unity in the community. But I'll let you do that. So how did this all get started for you?
Okay, all this got started out of a bad situation. I was in a domestic violence situation, and I said if I got out of that situation, I would make sure the next family, especially women with small children, would never have to suffer the way that I suffered. So I asked God, through my faith, if you get me out of this situation, I swear I would do better and do better by you and helping people in my community. And that's what I did. I started working for Garden State Episcopal part-time, helping them put together their food pantry, and I was doing that 4 years. And then I went over to Let's Celebrate, and I was just hopping from church to church to church, nonprofit to nonprofit in Jersey City. Whoever needed help starting a food pantry or knowing what to do so they can keep food coming into our community. And then one day I said, I'm working for everybody else. Let me try to do this for me. In 2016, I leaped out on faith, and I started Hunger Free, and just started as Hunger Free Bayonne. Because at the time I lived in Bayonne, so that's how I started it. And then through the time and the years, COVID hit. And when COVID hit, as everybody knows, we were at a standstill. We didn't know what to do. We didn't know where to go. There was nothing coming in and coming out. And then companies were still calling me because they still have food to give away because people wasn't buying stuff. So what I did was I started setting up at 9th Street and Broadway with the permission of the mayor and the powers that be. And they said as long as we kept the 6 feet, everybody had on masks and gloves, we can do it. And then that got a little complicated, and I received a phone call from a woman in California, and she was like her parents still lived in Bayonne. Her mother hasn't eaten in 3 days. Back then there was no flights coming in, there was no flights coming out, and she was worried about her parents. And she said she found me on social media, and she asked me if she sent me money, would I send her family food? And I told her I didn't need her money because we were getting food donated. I got her mother's address. Her mother lived in a senior building here in Bayonne. And what we did was when one person saw us delivering to her, the other seniors was like, oh, I don't have food either. So I gathered up a group of volunteers, which is mostly family and friends. And what we did was we packed up each bag, and we told the seniors, we're scared just like you. What we'll do is if someone buzzes us into the main door, we'll go floor to floor and put bags down by each door, but don't come out until you see us. Either we knocked 3 times to let them know that we were leaving, or they actually saw us leave the whole building altogether. And that's how we started the traveling part. And then things got tight. the mayor from Harrison called me. He was like, "Oh, I heard that you're doing door-to-door deliveries." I'm like, "Yes, we are, but we're only doing it for seniors because that was the population that we were they were vulnerable. They didn't know what to do." So then he asked me, "Well, how can you help my town?" And so I told him, "I can come to your town." And at the time, they didn't have a place for us to go, so we went to MetLife Stadium's parking lot. This way we had enough room. No one was on top of each other. And that particular day, we received 45 pallets of food. Once the word got out, everybody started traveling to Harrison to pick up food. We had people from Secaucus. We had people from Guttenberg, North Bergen. And then we said, to make it easier for everybody, we'll just go town to town. And then different mayors reached out to me, and we just started traveling town to town to town. And that's how we became the first and only traveling food pantry in Hudson County.
And so that continues to this day?
And that continues to this day. Every Saturday, we're at a different location. It doesn't matter, rain, sleet, shine, hot weather, cold weather. We are out here. Even when we had a couple of years back, we had like a little tornado warning. I reached out to Bill O'Day and Phil Kinney, and they got me permission to set up underneath the turnpike in between the Bayonne borderline and Jersey City, so we can have some coverage from the weather. So we set up under the turnpike. We had the cops come to help us, so it won't be no problems. And safety was always first. And we set up there and we serviced everybody that particular day on that stormy day. And then we just started and continue to keep doing what we're doing.
I think folks are surprised when they find out how many individuals and families actually are impacted by food insecurity. These are folks who really sometimes don't know where their next meal is going to come. We think of there being a web of government services that take care of things, provide, whether it's SNAP or whatever. But that isn't the case. At least that doesn't seem to be what you've experienced. Is that true?
No, you're absolutely right. Even with SNAP, SNAP is done by a monetary scale, and if you're a family of four, you may only receive, it depends on if both parents are working, you might receive between $150 and maybe $220 a month. $220 a month is not going to feed a family of four, especially with the prices are going up each day. So we come across a middle-class family, low-income family, seniors and veterans, and what they do is they make choices. They may not come every week to pick up food, but they come on the weeks that they know when things are really tough. And we're finding that the third and fourth weeks of the month are the toughest weeks for families to get through, because once they pay their rent and their public service and doctor bills and put gas in the car and car notes and car insurance, that's when they're lacking at the last of the month. So we try to hit the areas that we know of the most working parents that need that extra help.
How many folks are involved working with you, supervised by you? Does it vary from site to site, or do you have sort of an established group of volunteers?
I am so blessed, and I'm glad you asked that question. I came up with the brainstorm, but I have a good 25 to 30 volunteers. Strictly volunteers, from doctors to lawyers to crossing guards to managers at stores and restaurants. College kids, high school kids that come every Saturday, faithful. And they come to different locations and they help me set up, they help me break down. During the week, they help me get donations or pick up donations or transfer donations to other locations. And I could not do this without the caring people of Hudson County who decided to follow me, of all people, into a daily routine that we get up every Saturday morning at 6 o'clock and get the trucks and drop off and unload and give out to people in our community. And I always ask them why. And they said because it's something good. They always wanted to give back to something, but they didn't know what to give back and what to do. Since the program is a structured program and we know what we're doing, they said they'd rather help someone who they actually see the food is going to the community and not going to their family and friends.
Stephanie, if folks want to assist in whatever way it might be it as a personal volunteer, maybe they want to find ways to support the organization, maybe they're potentially a food provider, who knows what it might be. How would folks who want to support hunger-free unity in the community, how can they reach out to you to do that? I mean, I suppose they can Google you, but is there a phone number, a website, a Facebook, something, an Instagram, something that they can use to contact you?
We have a website, which is hungerfreeuic.org. We have Facebook, we have X, we have Instagram, and all those platforms will let you know where we are and who we are and what we do. We have 2 phone numbers. We have a mobile phone number, which is 551-241-9468. And then we have an office number at 170 Broadway, where we're open on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursdays from 9:30 to 3 o'clock. And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, we have a Hudson County welfare worker that comes to the office to help people fill out applications for Medicaid, food stamps, and if we have some housing information, we give to them. So this way, some people think that they don't qualify, but if they come to this office on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they can figure out and talk to someone to see if they qualify. And that phone number is 201-243-6239. And like I said, if you come into the office on Tuesdays and Thursdays, all that is available for you to have an application. We help you fill it out. They do it right here in front of you. They let you know. And it's like a 30-day process. Once your application is in, you'll hear something back from Hudson County within 30 days to see if you're eligible for those type of programs. And I want to thank Frank Mazda for that because he's allowing workers to come into the office to do that.
And Frank is the head of the department that oversees this issue, right, in Hudson County, correct?
Yes, he is.
Okay, terrific. One last question for you. This work is terrific. What was your reaction to being nominated as someone being honored for Hudson County Women's History Month for its celebration?
Honestly, when I received the phone call from Craig, I felt a little superstarish because now I have the county exec calling me, little Stephanie from Jersey City, Bayonne area, to tell me that he wants to give me this award, and then I felt really good, and I'll tell you 2 reasons why. My mom got this award maybe like 10, 15 years ago. So I guess it's come full circle. And then Janet Haynes, she was a county clerk.
Yes.
And that was my godmother. So
Wow.
To be back in the building where I used to go to after school to help her or to do my homework because my mom didn't want us home by ourselves. So to go back into that building, and it brought back a lot of memories of her and missing her and everything that she taught me about being nice to people and always give back. And we all come from St. Patrick's Church, and that's how I met Janet Haynes. Her and my mom was like library parents, and then she became my godmother when I made my confirmation, and she was just always a staple part of my life. So to go back to where we started for her to be a part of me was like, I guess I'm doing something right because I hope she sees all this work that I'm doing. And it wasn't for her and my mom, Florence Holmes, and Melissa Holloway. Those people put that battery in my back to always do good and be good.
Well, that's terrific. I know all those women you mentioned when I was a reporter many, many years ago. All of them were terrific ladies. I see why they were such a great influence with you. Well, Stephanie Glover Wilson, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And if there's anyone out there that think that this program can help them, and not just because of food, we also counsel people. We also have a kids group on Thursday nights at the office from 6 to 8 if kids just want to have someone to talk to. We also have a domestic violence counselor on our staff. That she gives up her free time to help people. We're just not all about food. We're all about building up a family around food because food makes you comfortable to tell people that you need help. So don't be afraid to dial those numbers that I gave out or stop in the office or go on social media, inbox me and tell me that you need help because that's what we're here for. And I want to thank Craig Guy, and all the commissioners for always giving me that extra faith to go out there and don't be afraid to help people and just have open door policy.
That's terrific. Thank you so much again, Stephanie.
Thank you, sir, and you have a great day.
We're joined by Shirin Vazir MacCormack. Shirin, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Shirin, I wonder if you could begin by talking a little bit about yourself, your background, and what brought you to the attention of the Honorees Committee.
Yes, thanks. I'm a New Jersey native. I'm a 16-year Jersey City resident, and I care deeply for the community that is my home, for the neighborhood and its residents. It's my neighborhood. It's my neighbors that inspire me. And, preservation is about creating a shared, learned experience of architecture. It's about a culture and its people. Preservation is about being a good ancestor for future generations. Preservation helps tell the stories of those who preceded us, many of who have been consistently overlooked or even silenced. My neighborhood is rich with Black women's history, for example, and it's time that we acknowledge them in our collective consciousness.
Talk a little bit about, if you could, sorry to speak over you, talk a little bit about that history, if you could.
Yes, when we started looking into some of the architecture in McGinley Square and specifically on Glenwood Ave, we realized that, there was there was rich women's history here on the block. And, a lot of us know about Martin Luther King Jr. having come to speak at St. Peter's University, and we know about President Obama coming to speak at the university. But what we haven't really known traditionally is some of the stories of Black women civil rights leaders and, within the enclave of homes that I live in Mayhew Terrace, a row of 1895 built Queen Anne Victorian homes, there were numerous women that were absolutely ahead of the time and influential in terms of women's suffragist movements, anti-lynching, and, instilling African-American studies in the Jersey City school system. One of my neighbors, India N. Edwards, just passed away at 105 years old, and her family's house is 66 years in 2024. And she was absolutely inspirational and a leader. She was an activist right up until the end of her life, in fact, and she was at the March on Washington, and she just contributed so much. And she even took care of another woman whose name is Ella Barksdale Brown. And Ella Barksdale Brown was the generation before her, who was a leading, women's journalist for the Jersey Journal. She was an educator, bringing Black history into the curriculum of the Jersey City schools, and with civil rights. So, at the end of India's life, we found that at the end of Ella Barksdale's life, India and Edwards took care of Ella. So there's all this, rich texture of Black women's history right here in our neighborhood if we just look and dig a little into the records and the news to uncover it. And a lot of that happens with stories of the untold history. A lot of that happens by networking with neighbors.
Now, I believe you were drawn into all this because of the restoration efforts you made with your own home on the Glenwood Avenue area. Is that correct?
Some of it is, yes. So my husband and I had lived downtown at Dixon Mills, the adaptive reuse pencil factory, for a number of years. We were living downtown at Dixon Mills, and then we decided to, move a little bit inland, and we found the house of our dreams, and we could see that she was a diamond in the rough and just needed a bit of TLC. So we painstakingly, restored this house to its former glory, and it was just such a exciting project, one after the other, that we worked on, uncovering the house's secrets and treasures, sealed up pocket doors, and, pulling up layers of faux wood laminate, and, wall-to-wall carpeting, and finding these very beat up but salvageable original 1895 parquet floors. And, we really, it was a labor of love to restore this house, but we did, and it's been worth it.
And so the house, in a sense, is sort of the entry point into the neighborhood, and then the broader and larger concerns, I guess?
Yeah, so we restored our house, and shortly after that, we found out that a number of properties, some very large, had been, sold and were being developed. And we networked with our neighbors much more closely at that point. We formed a neighborhood association, the McGinley Square Community Board, and the rest is history.
Talk a little bit about the work of the McGinley Square Community Board. What do you kind of see as successes thus far? And I suppose more importantly, what are some of the challenges the board is facing in clearly what is a time of sweeping development in central Jersey City?
Yeah, so McGinley Square Community Board started out as a bunch of residents who did not feel represented and did not feel that our voices were, had an outlet or had, a vision that could be expressed. So we rang doorbells, we met each other, we, connected, and it's been so exciting because, a lot of times in the city, you are just, you're in a hurry, everyone has somewhere to go, and you don't stop to take the time to get to know your neighbors. Well, our neighbors got to know each other, and then those neighbors got to know more neighbors. And some of our efforts are preservation and really working to have productive, constructive dialogue with, developers and builders who are growing the city and changing the city, which we look forward to. And, some of that is to just express community vision and encourage responsible and sustainable growth. And other parts of our efforts are geared towards events like neighborhood cleanups or education, or, we had our first, right after becoming a 501c3 last year, we had our first free community event, which was a paint and plant event. So it was encouraging awareness of the environment and growing from seed native perennials and native plants. So, we really have grown and in our endeavors, and we've had some successes, and we celebrate those. So preservation is also so important in terms of our city's heritage tourism as we approach America's 250th anniversary. And that leads me to the Powerhouse. The Powerhouse is an absolute industrial monument of supreme beauty, and only Jersey City can lay claim to it. Whether it becomes an art or community space or a sort of Essex market or Chelsea market or a conference hall, there is so much untapped potential in the Powerhouse.
You must have been quite honored to know that John Gomez, who was, of course, the longtime Jersey Journal columnist and the founder of the nonprofit Jersey City Landmarks Conservancy, was one of the folks behind your nomination to being honored by the county for Women's History Month.
John Gomez is the unmatched journalist and preservation activist who founded Jersey City Landmarks Conservancy and nominated me. So it was such an honor, and I feel extremely humbled to be selected by the county to be an honoree amongst such a truly inspiring group of women. I genuinely appreciate Hudson County's elected officials and Women's History Month Committee for acknowledging my volunteer work. And as I said last night, upon receiving my award, for every strong woman that was recognized last night, there's hundreds more that aren't acknowledged. So it is so important to thank them and to be grateful to those who inspire us and who show up for us. And it is so important to credit our teachers and our mentors and eventually pass the torch. Really, we lift each other up as women, as, a culture, as a community. We rise together when we connect. And that's one of the essential points of what the McGinley Square Community Board is all about. Every day, we choose what energy we want to bring into the world. And it's so important to choose love, kindness, truth, joy, and positivity, and to spread that because it spreads infinitely. And, I think it's so important also to let the ego go. And the ego says me versus you and us versus them, and it's so important to get to the we. It's so important to listen to someone else's truth, to share someone's untold history, and give voice to the overlooked. It's so important to tap into the broader collective consciousness. And I think that John Gomez's writings have helped do that. And it was truly an honor to find out that he had nominated me.
Well, Shirin Vazir MacCormack, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Jim, for having me.
Veronica Park is described as a dynamic business executive and a community leader. Veronica, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
Start by telling us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks for having me on. I spent 27 years of my professional career at Starbucks, where I was able to build and grow that brand not only globally on three continents, if I include the U.S., worked in retail, food service, international, and licensing. I was the first expat, so I had a very, very special career in a time when Starbucks wasn't even a common household name, and building that brand taught me so many things that at the end of 27 years, there was really no other job that I wanted. And so I decided I would transition into helping entrepreneurs and founders make their dreams come true. As one of the original co-founders of Beyond Brands, I have been able to help hundreds of founders, entrepreneurs, and even existing businesses who want to expand, really create from ideation to shelf their product and bring it to market in the natural products industry. So that's my professional career. I live here in Jersey City. I've been here for over 25 years, raised 3 kids, proudly going through up until their middle school years in the Jersey City public school system. My 2 boys, one is a graduate of St. Peter's Prep. My youngest son is currently at St. Peter's Prep, and my daughter is a proud graduate from Hudson County Schools of Technology.
Let's talk about that relationship with Hudson County Schools of Technology. I know you have some background there as well in terms of your community service. You want to talk about that?
Sure. I have been honored and privileged to sit on the foundation board for several years. I have been the vice president most recently for the last couple of years, and I'm so impressed by the work that that the Hudson County Schools of Technology have done, not only with integrating into each of the communities that are here, but also in the work that's done to enhance the kids' experiences in arts, athletics, and academics, which from my perspective, is one of the baselines of allowing each child to be their best self, realize what their uniqueness is in the world. And when a county school system with so much love and passion for the kids is able to realize their dreams in so many different diverse ways, I'm proud to volunteer my time to that foundation.
Could you describe for some of our listeners what the work of the foundation is? How does it support the schools of technology?
Our board really consists of making sure that the funds that are raised during our efforts, right, fundraising efforts, get put into all of the different types of programs that allow the students to get off campus, for example. So there's a UN program that is every year. There's actually a couple of them. There's also a deep desire to make sure that for example, the dance program gets the visibility that it deserves, because obviously as a performer, you're in front of an audience so often. There's also, really strong robotics. So the foundation, really the primary role is to raise money to give back to the kids, and that conduit is usually spearheaded by their teachers. So the teachers within this ecosystem is super strong and committed, and every time we approve a dollar that goes into any of these activities, it is really a testament to our, as a board's, commitment to what we believe to be true and is in the best interest. And because we believe that at the foundation, the county schools are instrumental in raising kids, we're super proud to be able to provide that benefit.
And I suppose, these youngsters who are, these young people who are students there, they're some of the best and brightest of New Jersey, but they often come from modest backgrounds. So they'll often compete or be engaged in activities outside of the classroom, where they are going to be asked to participate when their fellow participants or competitors might be from, more economically advantaged backgrounds.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this very diverse and large population, many of our kids in both the public school systems as well as within the county, which is public school also, qualify for free or reduced lunch. And that is very instrumental in sort of the decision-making in terms of where we allocate those funds, because you're absolutely right. Look, the number one fear people have is public speaking, right? So if we can put our kids in front of an audience or in front of their classmates or in really safe and secure environments and teach them that their story is of value, they are a shining light. We are teaching them skills, life skills, that will help them get jobs in the future, that will help them interact within social populations, that will help them be interested in looking at the world through different lenses and open to learning. And I think that that's really one of the most important things that we can do as a generation, to help raise the next generation up and bring them into the light so that they can be their best selves.
Now, I know that work extends to another organization that you were the founding chairwoman of, and that's the Youth Foundation of Jersey City. Could you touch on that briefly? What is the work of the Youth Foundation of Jersey City?
Yeah, thank you. It is similar to the foundation, the Hudson County Schools of Foundation. It's different in that we only focus on kids that qualify for free or reduced lunch. We are also very clear that we only give money that we raise to existing organizations. So my day job, I work with entrepreneurs, right? And those folks, unfortunately, 90% of all new businesses fail. So I'm not willing to sacrifice that for our kids. So we only invest the dollars that we raise into existing programs that will help expand those programs. So, for example, if there is an organization out there, New City Kids, for example, they bring on, kids that they take through 4 years of school and make sure that they have a 99% graduation rate and acceptance rate into college. We pay for we make a donation for those laptops for them to take off to college so they are set up for success, because that's a pretty hefty investment for kids. But those dollars are to help them enhance how many kids they can reach, right? Covenant House is another example. If they're bringing in homeless teens and we can give dollars to them to help allow them to open their doors to an extra 5 or 10 or 15 kids, that is really important to us. There are over 400 kids that are homeless in Jersey City. That's a number that should be 0. So how we can go about being very tactical and prioritize the things that the kids that we can impact. We also want kids to go to the theater. And if one of those theater goings makes them a, pianist or a director or something in the future, then we've impacted, one kid. My goal with the Youth Foundation of Jersey City is to start hearing from the kids that we've supported over the past, 5 years. We just had our 5-year celebration of the Youth Foundation merging together. It started in 2013 as just a dream, and it has grown into an organization where we have an executive director, and Paul Silverman and I co-chair it, and we're actually building a reputation and a platform to raise more money and awareness and give more dollars so that we can, in the next 5 to 10 years, start hearing from the kids that, graduated from New City Kids and how that laptop impacted their life, or how, the double jump Dutch jump rope kids are now competing on a national or international level. Like, I want to hear those stories from those kids, because it means that my volunteer time has had an impact. And again, even if it's just on one kid. That's
terrific. I wonder if you'd give us a sense of what your reaction was to being nominated. You're only one of only a handful of women, but one of 3 from Jersey City. What was your reaction to being nominated this year as an honoree by the county for Women's History Month?
Look, when Craig Guy called me and asked me, I couldn't have felt more humbled and proud, not only of the work that I've done, but also the recognition, and that the county wants to recognize women who are out there making a difference, whatever difference that is, how big or small. And it was really beautiful last night to be amongst so many women who are educators and leaders, public servants. It's really special. Like I said in my speech, I feel like, being a mom to not only my 3 kids, but also to what I feel like is a larger community of kids that could just use a little bit of, an extra hug every once in a while, or a helping hand, whatever that looks like.
Well, Veronica Park, thank you so much for joining us.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much.
The entire list of this year's honorees from the Hudson County celebration of Women's History Month can be found here in our show notes. And you can learn more about the celebration by visiting our website, www.hcnj.us. To keep up to date on county government news and alerts, be sure to follow us on Twitter at HudCoTweet and on Facebook at HudCoFB. To see photos and videos of county government events, follow us on Instagram at HudCoInsta or subscribe to our YouTube channel, HudCoTV. You can find HudCoRadio and hopefully subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Thanks as always to Hudson County Executive Craig Guy and the Board of County Commissioners, who sponsor, support, and direct all the programs and services discussed on this podcast. Take care.